We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA is heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Welcome along to the Irish NFL show, now proudly a part of the Believe Network. April 23rd looms large, where the 2026 draft will take place in Pittsburgh. All eyes will be on Pittsburgh, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jordan Reid, ESPN draft analyst. Jordan, welcome along.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. It's great. Look, it's so great to have you on, Jordan. I mean, this is around the time of year where we start to do a little bit of delving into who may go, who may be the top prospects, where the chips are going to fall. But you're at this 24/7, 365. This is your bread and butter year round. So this must be like Christmas for you.
Yeah, and a lot of NFL fans are ready to unwrap those presents in less than a month. So this is the fun part, though, less than a month away.
We've been speculating. We've been going through division by division. We talk about our own teams and what we hope and what we expect. And we've talked about I suppose pigeonholing narratives and convincing ourselves that whatever our own team does is going to be the formula for success. You joined ESPN in 2021, 6 years into this as an NFL analyst. You recently returned from the combine. What was that experience like, or how has that experience been evolving over the years, Jordan?
It was great. It's just one to see the media coverage that goes into it. And, I've only been to the combine 5 years now. 6 years now. And just to see the increase in the media presence has just been phenomenal from a media perspective. And this is really our only opportunity to get up close and talk to these players. And everybody likes to know who met with who, the personality of the players as well. And it's really the only time, even though it's for about 15 minutes or so, to where you can get that firsthand account of the players. You can ask them questions in the huge media scrum with them. So I think it's a great experience. And then, of course, you go to the on-field perspective, seeing these players compete for their ultimate dream and what they want to ultimately accomplish. The combine is easily my favorite event during the draft calendar.
It's like all of the other NFL events. It's just an absolute carnival, like the TV coverage, as you say, the media coverage. But, you hear more and more every year that potentially by the time we come to the combine, a lot of the homework is done. I mean, is it still as impactful as ever in terms of seeing what the players can produce on the day? Or do you think a lot more of the analysis is done around the combine, and perhaps the combine is now more of an excuse for teams to get together and it can turn into more of a free agency conference, so to speak?
It's a little bit of both. I like to call it a huge NFL powwow where everybody gets together and discuss those free agency aspects and what you're going to offer that player. But also, it's really good for us on the media side as well, specifically the scouts. That's an opportunity for us to sit down and talk to a lot of people that are close to certain situations. What are their thoughts about certain players? And then with the on-field testing, I still think it's very valuable. It's because you use that specifically if you have players that are clumped in what I like to call similar clusters or similar buckets together. You can really use a lot of that testing to differentiate some of these players.
I hadn't even thought about it like that. I was thinking of the teams and where the teams may pick and teams having to do their homework. But of course, for the media, it's such a huge part of you guys and what you do and gathering your information to put out those big boards, to put out those mock drafts and keep us all entertained in the weeks running up to it. It's in a lot of ways, it's just as much about what you guys do as well as the scouts and the talent evaluators. So like this year's combine, was there anyone in particular? Were there names that whose stock rose, or were there any unfortunate guys whose stock fell a little bit from based on what they produced at the combine?
Well, I mean, one that really jumped out to me was Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State. I mean, him jumping, 43.5 inches in the vertical, running 4.46 in the 40, and then coming in at 6'5", 243 pounds. It was just phenomenal. Like the show that he put on inside of there. And, I'm one of those guys that like to sit in the lower part in Lucas Oil Stadium. I sit directly beside the vertical jump. So seeing him jumped 43.5 inches. My eyes just kept going up and up and up. And I thought he was going to hit 45. Honestly, it just seems like he wasn't going to come down at all. So Sonny Styles definitely was one player that really stood out to me. Brendan Thompson, the receiver out of Mississippi State, him running 4.26. Whenever the guys run really fast like that, they're always going to catch your eye. So those are two players that really stood out to me. And then also D'Angelo Pons, the corner out of Indiana, him jumping 43.5 inches in the vertical, which is something that I did not see personally coming, him jumping that high of a number. But that just goes to show you how he's pretty much everybody's darling this year. And even though he's a little bit undersized, a lot of people, he's one of those players you really want on your team.
Do you think those traditional tests, the vertical jump, the broad jump, the 40, do you still think those are the absolute truest measures of um, giving us an insight into how these guys are going to perform at an NFL level? I mean, they're amazing to watch. And like you said, I don't think we can truly appreciate the athleticism of these guys until we're up close and personal with them. Watching on TV is completely different to being on the sideline or right next to them when we see the heights that these guys can jump. But is it still as valuable to see those raw statistics, or are you guys doing a lot more digging into the more intangibles, or the off-field stuff, the player character, etc.? Is it just a perfect blend of both?
It's a perfect blend of both, honestly, just because the character and football character intangibles that plays a huge part into it. And that's why you have those sources with people in the building and coaches that they were a part of, whether it's high school, middle school, college, NFL teams dig all the way back on all that stuff just because it's a huge investment, right? And I always compare drafting players kind of like going to buy a car in person. It may look great on the internet when you're watching the film, but when you go in and you test drive it and you go talk to the salesperson at the dealership, that's really where you start to find out a lot of things underneath and inside of the car as well. So that's what the combine is. That's what live scouting is when you're going to see these players as well. And it's a multi-step process. Of course, it starts out with the summer scouting of where you have the two services, Blesto and then also NFS, that come out with the initial grades of players. And then you go from there. So it's really an 11-month process, honestly. And it starts all the way over for me, specifically the last weekend in May. That's really where I get started on the 2027 class. And when we get here in April, mid to late April, that's really where you see that 11-month process really pay off.
And here you have the likes of me jumping on the bandwagon now with just a few weeks to go. So we just depend on all of the hard work that you guys have done all for the past 10, 11 months to inform us going forward. So you're kind of giving us a bit of a cheat code. You mentioned a few guys, and I want to get into your big board and your potential top 10 or your mock draft. Just on the draft in general, this year's draft. Talk to me about the deepest position and possibly the best positions that we'll see talent wise this year.
Honestly, I would say the deepest position in this year's class are at wide receiver, linebacker, edge rusher, corner, and safety. So a lot of deep positions in this year's draft. But if I had to pick one, I think receiver would be the deepest overall position. And just looking at my draft board, I have 46 draftable grades on receivers, which is the most that I have ever had in my time doing this in 8 years. So that just goes to speak of how far receivers have come, honestly. And I don't think we're ever going to have a bad receiver class going forward just because of the infusion in 707 in the middle school and high school ranks and all the way through college, and just how versatile those offenses are now. That's why we're seeing really receiver classes be so rich and how quickly they're able to churn out players that are able to play right away. So I think there's a clear big three at the top of the receiver class this year with Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, Mekhi Lemon out of USC, and my top receiver, who is Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. I think those are your three guys that are probably going to come off of the board the quickest in the first round. But after that, I think it gets really interesting. You get into guys like Denzel Boston out of Washington, Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, and the second round, I think there's a lot of depth, and even the third round as well. But as I mentioned, this is a very, very good receiver class overall.
If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. The same goes for cleaning. Simple Green All-Purpose Cleaner delivers powerful, concentrated performance across multiple surfaces, from tools and equipment to floors, workspaces, and more. It's strong enough for serious cleaning, yet formulated to work without harsh chemicals that demand heavy protective gear. Get the job done right. Safer, stronger, smarter. That's the power of Simple Green. Learn more at simplegreen.com.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
I'm glad you're bringing up the second round and the third round, even the fourth round, because I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. And last season, the Packers put all their eggs in one basket. Yep. Unfortunately, that basket is now recovering from a torn ACL. Yep. So Packers aren't going to pick until 52, and then it's like 80 something after that. You know, they've obviously got their needs. We talk about corner, we talk about potentially edge rushers, depth on offensive line. Packers aside, like the league in general, where do you see the best value, or have you in the later rounds? What positions do you think might be rich in those late rounds?
I think corner and safety. Honestly, this DB class is really, really good. I mean, we could see as many as 5 corners go in the first round, in my opinion, but we could see as many as 3 safeties go in the first round, which is very rare, especially with the position that is quote unquote devalued now. It's very rare to see safeties go inside of that top 10. And we actually may get one in the top 10 this year with Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, who I think is one of the 2 best players in this class, along with Jeremiyah Love out of Notre Dame. So this DB class is really, really good, along with receiver. We're going to see those guys fly off of the board in the first and second round, even well into day 3, the earlier parts of day 3.
Jeremiyah Love is a guy, and I'm glad you brought him up, because he's another guy, and running back, another position that, the analysts, some analysts might tell you don't want to draft a running back too high, for financial reasons or for value reasons, just like safety, as you mentioned. But the likes of John Harbaugh recently came out and said you want to draft a guy who you think may go to the Hall of Fame. You want to draft the best player available, which I suppose begs the question: do you see potential for the New York Giants drafting, taking a Jeremiyah Love at 5, even though they may have greater needs in other positions? Do you see him going that high? I know, and a lot of talk about him going to Washington, but is there a chance that someone will go up and get him? Because he's the number 1 player on your big board. He's the number 1 player on a lot of big boards around the country.
I think it's certainly possible. I've always had the saying of, if you have a good player, that shouldn't keep you from taking a great one, especially if you can upgrade that position. And I know the Giants already have Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo, who's coming off of injury, but that shouldn't keep you away from taking a great player like Jeremiyah Love if you're comfortable doing that. I think the same thing goes for Tennessee as well, with them having Tony Pollard and also Tajay Spears as well. Good players, but that shouldn't keep you from drafting a potentially great one, a potential Hall of Famer, as you mentioned. So I think he could go as high as Tennessee at 4. The Giants at 5 makes sense as well, but the one fit that really makes a ton of sense to me is Washington at 7, especially knowing Adam Peters and his background. He saw what Christian McCaffrey was able to do in San Francisco and how he's able to transcend that offense. He could see Jeremiyah Love being in a similar context and being their type of Christian McCaffrey type of player in that offense in Washington to help Jaden Daniels.
So on the 5th of March, you put out a mock draft. On the 12th of March, I saw Phil Yates and you guys, I think, collaborated on another mock draft. And I'm looking at, comparing and contrasting. Number 1, number 4, 7, 8, 9 all seem to be locked in. So you're talking Fernando Mendoza, number 1. I think that's consensus. I don't think we even need to bring that up. Tennessee Titans, Carnell Tate, number 4. Commanders, as you mentioned, Jeremiah Love, number 7. Saints going for Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, number 8, and Francis, help me pronounce it,
Maui Noah.
Noah, offensive tackle at Miami at 9. Any movement on that? Because that's still, that's a couple of weeks old now at this point. Are you still pretty set, pretty confident that chips may fall like that? Or have you, has your opinion shifted in the last few days?
Well, it's always a prediction, right? We never know what these teams are going to do. We can pay attention to the trends that they had in free agency and the positions that they didn't address. And then we also can look at the general managers and the regimes that they have been a part of and try to guess as far as what they're going to do. So as far as that order, I feel really good as far as how those players came off the board. But we're always in for surprises, right? We never know what these teams are going to do. I'll never forget Michael Penix going number 8 overall a few years ago. When Atlanta selected him, nobody saw that coming. So there's always a few curveballs that are going to be thrown on draft day, but I'm really interested to see exactly when those curveballs happen and exactly who it is that's selected.
And the curveballs are what what keep us up late. I don't know if you know, but this is an all night job here in Ireland. We're 5 hours later than Eastern time, so it's we're going to be up through the night watching this. And it's, as I said, it's the curveballs that get us going again. Last year we got great excitement when the Giants came up and took Jackson Dart. Are there any teams in particular that you think may be tempted to try and climb into the first round or higher up in the first round? And based on maybe needs being set and finding value later on, do you think there's any of the top 5 that may look to maybe drop down a few positions if there's something to be gained?
That's a great question. Well, the tough part about this year's draft is that there's not a lot of high end talent or blue chip talent at the top of this year's draft, and it takes 2 to tango. You have to have somebody that is willing or wanting to come up for a certain player. So I think that's something very key to watch in this year's draft. If I had to guess, I don't think we get any trades inside the top 5, but you never know. But I think that's one of the key things or key aspects to watch in this year's draft. Is there somebody that is willing to want to come up for a player? But just to address the other part of your question, I think Arizona is one team to circle as far as somebody that could trade back into the first round, just because with their quarterback situation, they have Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett. So quarterback is a huge question mark now that Kyler Murray has moved on to the Vikings for the Arizona Cardinals. So I think they're going to have Ty Simpson circled. Now, where exactly do they trade up for him? I look probably from that 25 to 31 range. I think that's the sweet spot of where they could look to trade back into the first round to try to get Ty Simpson.
I'm glad you brought a quarterback before we finish up because, as I said, it seems like Fernando Mendoza is a lock. He's Cam Ward, he's Caleb Williams. There's not going to be a surprise there. Ty Smith is the other guy you mentioned. We're hearing late first round, maybe early second round, and after that, there's a bit of a gulf in quarterback class. That's just from reading around and listening to what's out there. In your opinion, is there a Brock Purdy to be found later on this year? Is there someone who's going to emerge like your Tom Brady or 199 pick? Is there a diamond in the rough in those later rounds? Or is everybody right in that 2027 is the year to go after your quarterback?
Yeah, Purdy and Brady are like the most extreme outliers in NFL history that we've ever seen. But if there was one quarterback that I do want to mention, his name is Luke Altmaier out of Illinois. And he's basically the same exact size as Brock Purdy, about 6'2", 210 to 215 pounds. Had a lot of success at Illinois. He does a lot of West Coast offense things as far as getting the ball out really quick. He's really decisive. He has really good mobility as well. He's that Shanahan, McVay type of quarterback of where he can get the ball out quick. He has really good accuracy, very decisive, plays on time, really smart too. So that 5th or 6th round is probably where he ends up going. So if you're a team that's looking to what I like to call just try to take advantage of a lottery ticket, you're hoping that you can cash in on one of those late round quarterbacks to get a Brock Purdy or a Tom Brady. Luke Altmaier out of Illinois is definitely one name that I would have circled personally.
Watch this space. Well, Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I know you're a busy guy, and as I said, this is like Christmas for you. I wish you the very best of luck. Doing great stuff there in ESPN. A lot of great reads, a lot of great watches. So thanks for everything you do.
Thanks as always, and continued success to you guys.
If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. The same goes for cleaning. Simple Green All-Purpose Cleaner delivers powerful, concentrated performance across multiple surfaces, from tools and equipment to floors, workspaces, and more. It's strong enough for serious cleaning, yet formulated to work without harsh chemicals that demand heavy protective gear. Get the job done right. Safer, stronger, smarter. That's the power of Simple Green. Learn more at simplegreen.com.
Do you love rom-coms? Do you wish you could talk about Christmas movies year-round? Then we have the perfect podcast for you, Hallmarkies Podcast. Throughout the year, we cover all things romance, holiday, and Hallmark, including recaps of every Hallmark show, like When Calls the Heart and The Way Home. You can also get loads of bonus content covering shows like Bridgerton, Sweet Magnolias, and Just Like That. We are an all-female group of friends who are passionate for these shows and movies and give our honest opinions as well as gush over what we love so much. But that's not all. Every Monday, there are interviews with all your favorite actors, writers, directors, and more. Check out Hallmarkies Podcast on all your podcast providers and on YouTube. That's Hallmarkies Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Baby, my heart is burning, but it don't burn with love. Now everything is turning. I think I've had enough, but I got Zegrid. I'm gonna stop that heartburn before it starts. I'm gonna rule that burning heart.
Zegrid releases immediately and blocks acid that causes heartburn for 24 hours. Zegrid, feel the difference. 24-hour relief is possible. One pill daily for 14 days may take 1 to 4 days for full effect. Not for immediate relief. Use as directed.